is Rupert's lactate power curve from a step test he's just done up the hill. We're at the almost at the top of the Col de Madeleine, which is getting on for 1800 metres. And what Rupert did is he rode in 1 kilometre increments at different wattages, and the results of the 3 variables we were looking at, which was the wattage itself, the heart rate response to that work, and the lactate response building up in his bloodstream to those intensities, are here plotted on this curve, on this graph, and that is really nice. That's beautifully executed test more by Rupert than myself, and that is pretty well textbook. What it's telling us is we're looking at the green line, which is his lactate response to different increasing work intensities, and really low down at rest he's like almost 1 millimole of lactate, which is very typical. Pretty well any of us are producing lactate and clearing it at the same rate, just as we're sitting watching even TV. Then he starts working a little bit, very lightly, and you see it pick up to the 1.8 figure. What's really interesting, yet it's not interesting, it's quite normal, but it's quite surprising, is that when he picks it up a little bit further, the lactate level actually falls. And what happens there, what's happening, is that lactate itself is not the bad boy that it was once thought to be. Actually, the body there starts using lactate as a fuel source, as a substrate, and sucking it out of the bloodstream and actually using it for energy production. That's why it falls off. But thereafter it starts picking up again, and it starts picking up with wattages as we see, and it starts climbing, and it's just going in a very linear fashion, because Rupert is a very well trained individual, and he's quite comfortable at these exercise intensities. It falls here, this area here, it flattens a little bit, and that's because that's the area that we've really been working hard on with Rupert in trying to make him good at climbing at sort of 240 to 260 watt territory, because that's what's going to suit him best on these climbs when he performs the Étape du Tour. Thereafter, so that basically there his body is good at that wattage range, but thereafter it gets very tough. And what you see here is a classic jump where effectively if that curve was smoothed out, that would be exponential jump, and that's really his threshold. That's his real transition between aerobic and anaerobic energy production, and from that we know so much, and we can plot his training zones very accurately. We can ascertain at what point he's starting to, as we call as a cyclist would call, burn matches, and that point there you see his lactate level rises very rapidly. He is now well into just burning sugars as a fuel source. He's no longer burning fats for sure. That's probably happening around here. And we know that at altitude, bearing in mind Rupert lives at 1500 metres, we know that up to sort of 1800 metres he's really not been much affected. I know that Rupert would perform another 10 or 15 watts better in terms of threshold power output down there at sea level. So right here, his threshold power, what he could produce for sort of 1 hour, would be about 300 watts. Taking him down the valley, test him there when he's fresh, I would expect to see something more like 320, which for a guy who weighs 74 kilos is pretty hot stuff. And there we go.